Interview with King Smarty, Young Adult Experiences. This interview was recorded October 24th, 2025. It's been edited to remove background noise, excessive F-bombs, minimize Sue's wows, and other non-essential comments. Exact words, but streamlined due to audio corruption. Young Adult Life. Sue. You know how you said you've been shot at so many times? You've been in so many car accidents. Can you tell the story of that? I have this on recording. It's fascinating. Smarty. Well, it's just like every other story in the hood where people don't like you for whatever reason, whether it's hate, whether it's just people wanting to start problems or a gang related issue. The first incident was a gang related incident. I wasn't even in a gang, my cousins were. I was the one that went to go rescue one of them. That's why they retaliated on me. That's literally what happened. I went in, broke up a fight, and then got involved, which was stupid. Shortly after that, I was targeted by the other gang, and a few of them drove by in a car. As I'm walking across the street, I already knew what was going to happen. My house was across the street, which was where I was going. There was a car parked on the street to the right side of the house as I was facing the house. The corner of the car, the corner the car drove around was behind the parked car. You would have to go up the steps to get into the house. When I saw the car, I knew exactly what they were going to do. I just knew. I saw the back window go down. As I saw the back window go down, instead of going across the street, going straight up the steps and then inside, I went straight across the front of the car. That's the parked car. I looked around. The guy in the back seat pointed the gun right at me. You saw the window come down? Yeah. So I come across the street, look, watch the car the whole time, not letting them know that I knew what was going to happen. So instead of walking straight up the steps, I went straight across the street to the front of the parked car, stopped right in front of the opposite side of the car on the sidewalk, turned around, and then the shooter leans out the window. All I see is the gun in his hands. He had black gloves on. It was literally 5 or 6 feet away. I'm looking right at him and pop, 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 and the car takes off. I turn around and I'm like looking at everything like, what the fuck? I had a gun at the time. I went inside, grabbed my gun, came back out, and went to the next corner because I was going to retaliate. I went back to the house. I was looking for holes and there were none. And they were literally that close. Boom, 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 boom. The funny part is, I even remember the stones behind me, the smoke kicking up or whatever, the smoke and the dust and all that from the bullets hitting. So I saw it, but when I saw it, it was like I was out of body, if you understand what I'm saying. I also saw it from the driver's viewpoint in the car. I saw the smoke, and then there was grass and dirt kicking up. And it was just like pow, pow. I knew right there and then they went right through me. Sue, wow. About how old would you say you were there? Were you in your 20s? Smarty, yeah, about 18, 19, something like that. Before that, though, there's been incidents where I was in car accidents, where I was doing bike tricks and stuff like that, and I would get up in the air, and I don't know how it happened, but I ended up falling and broke my wrist. A lot of these things happened, showed me that there was something about me that was different because normally people would die. It was just crazy like that. I was in car accidents, 9 of them. The very first one, the car was totaled and I walked out without a scratch. Everyone else was hurt. Fast forward to now. We were talking about going to a specific area in Birmingham, and B was like, it's dangerous there. And I was like, I can't be touched. And he's like, yeah, but other people around you can, which makes sense. And this is unfortunate, knowing that other type of stuff can't happen to me and it can happen to other people. That's one of the reasons why I got to be careful and I have to make sure everyone's covered because things will happen to others that can't happen to me. It's like with you, meaning me, Sue. They hit you to try to take you out and it's not happening. And that's because it's our role. And it does feel bad when you see other people experience, death and shit like that. Thanks for that. Which is why I say if I got to stay here, y'all are screwed in here with me. Sue. Oh my gosh. I had another question about when you got shot point blank. You didn't die, clearly. You go back into the house and you said so you did go after the guys, or what happened to them? Smarty. I ran inside, grabbed the gun, and ran to the corner to see where they were going. And they took the other way instead of coming back around because I was just going to shoot shit up. Sue, when they saw you alive, did they flip out? Smarty. They realized that nothing had happened to me. And shortly after that, they all, no bullshit. This is no lie. Shortly after that, they all started going to church. No bullshit. I swear to God. They all started going to church. And the guy who was the one that pulled the trigger was the main one that went to church. He's still a Christian going to church because he knows what he did. And I know what he did. He doesn't know that I know because I made it seem like I didn't. I'm glad he turned his life to God because that's what it is. Yeah, he went to church and then we became friends after that. Sue, really? You're friends? Wait until he finds out who you are. Smarty, we still are. Yep, that's all daddy right there. They pulled up like a scene out of a drive-by in a movie. Shots fired, aimed with the kind of precision that usually means the target's already gone. These guys were hitting the places that are supposed to end you. But in my case, nothing. It didn't take. I'm still standing. In their head, they're thinking, what the hell happened? Why didn't you die? Why isn't there a wound on your body? The first time I ran into him, you could see the fear that he had around me. He was like, what the fuck? And I happened to be in the bathroom. Sue, that's where he saw you? Yeah. We were in the bathroom and he was like, what's up, man? How you doing? Fantastic, man. How you doing? I already knew. And here's the thing. Now you guys know why I forgive the way I do. Because only daddy could do these things, not holding grudges. It's a big thing to forgive. That's a huge thing. I did it because of the way daddy made me. There are a couple of other people that I had to do that to, not because I was afraid of them. It's because I'm afraid of what I could do. It's in my best interest to forgive you because otherwise I'd rip you apart. And there's no good in that. Remember, this is before I was King Smarty. Oh, wow. This is before me knowing everything I know now. I was just built different. And now I know why I was, because there's more power in forgiving. Sue, I'm thinking that incident was a catalyst, a turning point in their life. All of them. They could have killed other people, gone down a road of crime or whatever. But that was a turning point for whatever number of people, as well as the ones they didn't hurt in the future. Smarty. Not only that, it was a turning point for the gang related stuff, a turning point for all of us. Because after these guys became Christians, they just didn't want to be a part of anything, even my cousins. After all that happened, they squashed everything like, we don't want no problems. Everybody remembers because we did things that weren't cool. We shot at cars with kids in them and stuff like that. That's just the lifestyle that I was part of when I was a kid. And luckily, nobody got hurt. And it was also on daddy. But that's why I'm strong in the way I am and why I'm forgiving the way I am. That's why I see the bigger picture no matter what. You guys never even heard this story, and now it's going to be in the book. That's right. Word for a word. Yep, I know. Here's my note. Unfortunately, not word for word because there was a lot of background noise. So everything had to be edited heavily. I salvaged all that I could. All right. So I got the best content that I was able to that I could hear. All right, Sue, you had told me about the jail thing and you said they had raided your house before you went to jail. I remember that they smashed your picture, left it in the kitchen sink, but they took your money out of it. It was Iraqi dinar. Smarty, yeah. That's when I knew without a shadow of a doubt that the Iraqi dinar was real because people were saying that it wasn't. And you're talking about something I've been investigating since 2008 or 2009. I found two videos talking about Nasara, talking about farm claims, talking about Iraqi dinar, and I'm like, what the hell is this all about? I ended up buying some and then getting told by people that I love that I shouldn't be wasting my time with this. Why are you playing with Monopoly money? I'm leading up to why I had the dinar. I started doing multi level marketing because I didn't want to stay in the game, because I sold everything I could get my hands on. I started that multi level marketing stuff. A lady that was above me in the multi level marketing told me about the dinar. She told me that her nephew was an FBI agent and that he gave her dinar. And he said, keep this, it's going to be super valuable one day. And after that is when I decided to buy more. I was like, this is all true. Let me get some because I'm going to do a lot of good stuff with it. Fast forward, that's what we all want to do. Fast forward to the day they came into my house. They were looking for drugs. What ended up happening is they took everything and they broke everything. I gave them the drugs that I had because they were threatening to take my family and take the kids in. After they did what they had to do, I came home because I got released. I come home and my house is trashed. The only thing I was really worried about was the dinar because of what it would do for myself and the family and everybody. I go into the kitchen where there was a photo that I had in a frame, and I had literally just two Iraqi dinar bills in there. They smashed the photo and took the dinars. When that happened and it wasn't written down on the paperwork, that's when I said, son of a bitch, these dudes know exactly what's going on, too. Which makes sense looking back from where we are now. Every one of them was tied into it. Police, DEA, sheriffs, whatever label you want to throw on them. All of them. And that moment was the giveaway. It was a clear indication that they knew all about it. They knew. After that happened, with a little bit of money that I had left over, ended up buying more of it. And again, everyone told me I shouldn't waste my time with it, but I'm going to buy more. Not long after that, I connected with a quantum physicist who opened the door on energies and frequencies. That's the thread that eventually brought the dinar into the picture. Then the Zim followed. We'd built a Facebook news group and I was helping everyone in there. Through that, I met someone who sold dinar and still does. And we also crossed paths with a retired heart or brain surgeon who understood the Zim inside out. He told everyone in the group that he held Zim and that it was worth 10, even 100 times more than the Iraqi dinar. So we started buying it. Back in 2011 and 2012, it was dirt cheap. I picked up maybe 20 to 50 notes for around 30 bucks total. Dang it. Way cheap. Now, one note costs 4 or 500. The catch? I gave mine all away. Every last one. A lot of what I've done has been about lifting people up, and giving away my Zim was part of that. Sue. Then you go to jail and you go in to talk to the judge. Now, didn't you tell me that the paperwork wasn't signed properly or something? Smarty. No. What they gave me was an unconstitutional sentence. The 3 to 6 years they handed down wasn't even legal. And it turned out they were doing that to a lot of people around the time. When I went to the courthouse to figure out why they'd railroaded me, they told me I'd already been sentenced the day before because I supposedly didn't show up. I kept telling them over and over, this is an unconstitutional sentencing. They moved me back to the holding tank, and then, out of nowhere, the judge himself shows up. He opens the door, and everyone's staring like, why is the judge back here? He hands me paperwork on the spot, basically reducing my sentence because of what I said. Sue, before you even went in, Smarty. Yeah, before they took me to jail and all that. So right there and then, they gave me paperwork to fill out and sign so that my time would be reduced because of what they did. And at the same time, this whole thing was designed by Daddy to slow me down anyway. Because of all the shit that I'm doing now, I would have passed all this already, and it wasn't time because timing is everything. So, well, and I had to step into who I was, if that makes sense. Sue, just like you talked about the video game, you need to slow down, look around more, learn, and then you can progress rather than just get to the end and win. Winning would be good too, though. I assume that's because we don't want to miss anything and have to come back and do this again. Smarty, that's exactly what was happening. And he, Daddy, literally told me they put me there to try to kill me because the jail that I was in was sitting on top of a coal mine that was giving everyone cancer. Everyone but me. Sue, you got a sentence you didn't even know about. You go in to talk about it, they throw you in the holding cell, then they bring you papers back to reduce the sentence? Smarty, yep. Sue, and did you have to sign those papers? Smarty, I had to fill the papers out and had to serve time before they even brought me back for resentencing. They already decided to give me the 3 to 6 years. And I was already accepting that. Like, okay, 3 to 6 years, I'll be out in 6 years, and I'm getting back to work with all of these products because I was working with the quantum physicist before all that happened. I'd already made a little money selling food. I wanted nothing to do with the drugs. I wanted to keep all that far from me. I started cooking plates at home and selling them to people on Facebook. Back then, nobody was doing that yet. It was me and Genesis's mom way back then. Now everyone's doing it. I had to rebuild from the ground up. The money from selling food and even selling some of my own things ended up helping me to buy $500,000 worth of holograms and everything that came with them. And the whole time, Daddy was giving me ideas, showing me things, even while I was in there. That's why when you look at the book, referring to his journal of designs and ideas, so much of what's written has already manifested with plenty more still unfolding. Sue, you told me once that you actually slept on the floor when you were in jail. Smarty, it was only for a short time. They process you, give you a bed when they can, but it's overcrowded, so a lot of people sleep on the floor. You get a blanket, a bag of underwear, 2 sets of clothes, and a sweater. Upstate, they at least give you two of everything instead of one. You sleep where they tell you until they find a spot. People are starting to find out it's all been a fraud done against the people's will, and all of that's coming out now. Sue, you must have seen some horrible things. Smarty, yeah, people get killed. I saw it all. They pick and choose who to violate. A lot of folks like to prey on the weak. I'm not that type. There were times people disrespected me, but I didn't back down. They're looking for fear. This guy's scared. Let me keep messing with him. Let's take his snacks, his stuff. If you take my stuff, I'm not going to just sit there. Sue, you still didn't know who you were, but toward the end of jail, you kind of made a deal and you said to God, let me out of here and I'll work to help humanity. Something like that, right? Smarty, about 2 years in, I went to the I went before the parole board and told them the whole truth. One of the questions was, with all these drugs and money, why didn't you have anyone working for you? I said straight up, because I did it all myself. I'm not going to have someone else take the fall. She thought that was interesting. I explained I wouldn't set anyone up or snitch because that's what everyone does. I answered their questions, owned it, and made it clear I've decided it was over. I'd do the time, and when I left, it would be done. Here's what happened. That same day, I went to the parole board. I felt good about the whole thing, but I saw people go to the parole board and then come back with bad news every fucking time. Like it was a never ending story. Oh, I got to do 10 more years, 20 more years. I watch these people. I watch these guys just do what they got to do, work, go to school, have no issues with nothing. Like you can see that they want to change, and then they go to the fucking parole board, and then they say, nah, you got to do another 10 years. So now they're coming back all depressed and don't want to talk to nobody. So, anyways, that's how it is in there. I came back and I looked up. Everyone looks up, right? And I said, God, because I didn't call him daddy at the time, I said, God, I'll make a deal with you. If you let me out of here, I'll heal every fucking body. And I literally was looking up to the sky. I'll heal every fucking body. And I kept my deal, and that deal is still going on. That was something between him and me. That's literally how and why I've continued to do what I do because he let me out early. I could have stayed there for an extra 2 or 3 years. Sue, so he was in your head like you had voices in your head? Smarty, I've always I've always had that. It's called daddy. You know, people call it intuition, people call it this and that. I've always had that, and I knew I was going home. But I made that deal too. Also, because I was like, I want to go home now. Let's do this. It was wild. As soon as I got home, I kept calling my family, asking where my computer was and whether they'd held on to my suitcase because they had no idea what I'd left with them or how valuable it was. I already had it in my head that what I was going to do with the suitcase and the currencies. I had stacks and stacks of currencies, and I had the suitcase in my brother's house. Then I had my tower computer filled with all the currency in my mom's house. When I opened it up in front of her, she was like, "Oh my God, oh my God, I didn't know you had all that there. I could have went to bingo." Now look, everything that I've written down and everything that I work for is literally manifesting. And I didn't go to any nefarious shit. I didn't sell drugs or nothing to get all the stuff that I have now. I might look like I'm still selling drugs because that's how we look up north, right? But I'm not. I'm doing everything legit, and that's why they don't have nothing on me. Sue, you had started working on the holograms before you went in, and afterwards you had time to work on your ideas. Then you came out and started implementing. Smarty, back to the deal and back to the holograms. I wrote down a lot of my products with the idea of me having to use a hologram, and I was already prepared to having to purchase more holograms to continue my work. When I came home, I found out that the gentleman that I was working with had decided he only wanted to sell his holograms under his business. He didn't want me selling all the stuff that I had. He told me if I was to sell it, I would have to sell it on the streets, and he didn't want me to sell it online. So, me being a man of my word, I said, okay, why not? Then I got to the Real Truth Call, which wasn't a website, it was a bunch of us on a call, right? I tell people about what we have for that 4 hour long call right after talking to Fisher. Fisher was above majestic. 20 minutes before the call actually started, I talked to Fisher and told Fisher what it was. And he was like, oh shit. Oh my God. I told him to charge his water with the image that I sent him, and he didn't have to drink it. As soon as he grabbed a cup, it was vibrating. I already knew there were a lot of people that were sensitive to energy. And that's why I always said I love all you sensitive people more than anybody. Because when I produce something and send it to someone, they're like, whoa, we feel that shit. So that's what motiv that's what's motivating me to keep doing things. Shortly after that call, I started selling off my products because they were mine. I even had the quantum physicist come on the call so that he could sell some of his products because it was only right. He's the one that produced these things that I bought. And then when he realized that a lot of the orders weren't going to his site, but were coming directly to me. That's when he says, oh, you know what? I no longer want you as part of my business, and you and Holotech are no longer welcome. And I'm like, what's all this about? You weren't supposed to sell your products, and you were supposed to send everybody to the website. Wait, what? Bro, I got fucking $500,000 worth of products right here. What am I supposed to do? Just wait and sell it to some fucking flea market? Fuck no. I already paid for this shit. Then he basically tells me, send me 5 grand and then we'll be okay about it all, right? So I'm like, you know what? It's cool. Here's the 5 grand. After I send the 5 grand, he sent me a text message saying that you and Holotech are no longer welcome. Thank you for your business. Whoa. So then he starts making a video, which is still on YouTube, that I'm a fraud, that I took his technology, that I did all this stuff and all this bullshit, right? So then fast forward to Daddy coming along. Because at the time, I didn't know who Daddy was or who I was. Then B comes along and says, Daddy says you can do this and you can do that, so try. Boom. Just wipe his shit out. I found out later on from Daddy that every time I sent the text messages and holograms to people, I was cleansing it and making it stronger and better. So I'm like, okay, I'll follow your rules. You can have all that. Next thing you know, Daddy tells B for me to just hit the pendant. And that's why I tell people the story where I spent like $700, $800 on products to make the pendants with the resin. Remember those? Sue, yeah, I had a couple of them. Smarty, I just did all of that. And then Daddy says, all you have to do is hit it. And I'm like, wait, what? And that's when the whole generating energies and generating frequencies started happening, where now I can do it anywhere and at any time. When I got cut off by the quantum physicist, I realized that we can do all of this stuff. So, what ended up happening is I take all of these energy products that I started buying all around the internet. I put all these fucking holograms and all the energy products and the shungite and everything on top of my printer and hit the button. What that did was charge the ink in the printer and the paper. I let all the Holotech circle images print out. Then I got the hole puncher, laminated everything, hole punched it, and put it inside the pendant, covered it with resin. Then I found a nice little sheet that had a little flower of life on it. Used another hole puncher to punch those out, and then boom, I had a copy. I had a counterfeit of my own shit. They were made without anyone else's holograms or technology, and they were 10 times stronger than the ones with his holograms, right? Then we got plenty of people that are already using my holograms and giving testimonies. And mind you, they were using the Holotech ones that I first made, and it was free, right? The crazy shit about that is that I made a green one and I made a black one. And the crazy shit about that is when I printed out, one of them came out blue. I said, what the fuck? It came out blue. The whole sheet was blue. Then I said, okay, blue. Daddy Blue is the blue wonder. What the fuck happened? Why is it printing like this? And it was the first and last time it came out blue like that. Then I took a photo of it and I printed them all out blue. Then this is how I counterfeited my own shit. Sue, didn't you put them in the orgonite when you were making that too, to help clear the area and raise the vibration there? Smarty, I did that too, yeah. That's when I was doing the orgonite. I was doing all of that at the same time. All those things are going to be super valuable. Daddy tells me any frequency that you want, just ask for it. Then me and B made a system together where we would request Daddy to send us the images. I would text B saying frequencies for whatever, and he would send me a message back saying, in blue or in green. And then I would just see it appear and poof, snatch it up and put it on the products. That was just for the pendants. We started doing all this other shit and going in and out of tunnels. What are the first words Daddy said to you? Smarty, that's a good question because he's been talking to me all my life. One of the first words he said was that he was my father. He said his name was Source and that a ship has been following me my whole life. After him talking to us and telling me all these things, my whole life started making sense. Like, why I wasn't able to get shot. I wasn't able to die in car accidents. I fell from a roof from a two-story building and only fractured my wrist. I twisted my wrist and all that, but that was it. I get little cuts and stuff like that, sprained ankles, normal stuff, but nothing major. I knew from early on that I was special. Starting to work with frequencies. Sue. And shortly after that, you connected with the quantum physicist. Smarty. Right after. Someone sent me one of his videos, an MMA fighter from Ohio. I watched it and thought, is this real? I tracked him down online and messaged him, is this legit? I want to try it. Took him 2 months to answer. He just sent his phone number. I asked again and he said, I'm either the biggest con artist or I'm the smartest man alive. I knew my IQ, so I took my shot. He sent products. I used them. I lost weight like crazy. My stamina went up. My whole system shifted. I've got before and after photos from that time. I started selling the products online, and that's how all the hologram stuff started. Daddy took me out of the drug game and put me into the frequency game. From there, it was history. Sue, and that was before your sentence started. Yeah. Oops, Smarty. Yeah. I was fighting my case, and during those 2 years before prison, I was building. I worked with frequencies, creating stickers and pendants and selling, and then reinvesting. It was the same model I used on the street, but with holograms instead. As long as I had product, I had income. I kept thanking Daddy, although at the time I only knew him as God. I kept saying, everything's going to be new. That's how it began. 2 years later, I go to court. I get taken in, do my time. When I came out, I walked out with a briefcase. It had $500,000 worth of product ideas and a notebook worth trillions. Literally, because if even one product sells to 8 billion people, that's $1 trillion idea. And if they keep buying, more. That's how I was thinking. I wrote down everything I wanted to build. Even if I didn't make it myself, those ideas manifested anyway, maybe even through someone else. Sue. And you noticed that kind of manifestation early? Smarty. Yeah, as a kid. I watch commercials and think about how boring they were. No music, no culture. And then suddenly commercials everywhere started using beats, using our language. Things that I focused on would show up in reality. I didn't know the scale of it then like I do now. And the free energy stuff, Daddy told me it wouldn't happen until he said so. I'd build setups, do the work just like others were showing. Lights, power, components, and nothing would turn on. And he would say, it's not time. Sue, he's just having you prep though. Smarty, that's exactly it. Either you're learning something or whatever. That's exactly what it is. Experience it all. Learn it all. The raid. Sue, now you told me the other night that when they raided your house, they planted the drugs in your house. Is that true? Is that what I heard? Smarty, no, 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 I didn't say that. What they did was they told me that if I didn't give them the drugs, they were going to take the kids. I gave it to them. Sue, and the kids were home during the raid? Smarty, yes. JJ, Johnette, and Genesis were there. Andrea was there too. JJ was little, around 7 years old. It was awful. They went through a lot. Sue, that's horrible. Smarty, It had to be my cousin's husband to set me up. I said, "You guys don't even know who you work for, do you?" And they're like, "No, we don't know. What do you mean?" I said, "You guys work for the Queen of England, man." They wrote down some information on a piece of paper and told me to sign it, right? What I did was draw a giant UFO with the lights coming down, signed it, and gave it back to them. They wrote everything down on the inventory sheet except the Iraqi dinar. And the funny thing is, while we're in the precinct, I'm cracking jokes at them and telling them that they're like fucking Windows 6 and I'm a Pentium processor. That's why you could never get me. Sue, and did you say that they took your truck and never gave it back? Smarty, they took my truck and never gave it back. They took my TV. I had a 75-inch TV on the wall, and the way that I mounted it, it wasn't coming off. They tore it off the wall, and the corner of the TV snapped. I said, "Yo, you just broke my TV." They said, "It don't matter. Even if we get $100 for it, we'll still make money." That just proves to everybody that they're stealing your property, they're kidnapping you, and they're keeping you hostage. That's literally what they do. Literally. That is what they've been doing to everyone, and they call it law. There's consequences for what they've been doing. Sue, not only did they take your truck or whatever, but they were using your truck to raid more houses, weren't they? Smarty, yeah, they were using my truck because it looked nice. They would use my truck to go to different corners acting like people that were trying to buy drugs. People would see this fancy truck come along. The guy's asking if you got some weed, you got some of this, you got some of that. Sue, it was like a setup just to get more people. When you got out, you didn't get the truck back. Smarty, no, they kept it. They confiscated it and then they sold it in the auction. That's what they do. And the only reason why they can do this is because we don't know the law. I knew the law, but I wasn't practicing it the way that common law and all that stuff works. Because literally the only reason why they could take that truck was because the truck is registered to the state. Then they use the guise of I'm a drug dealer that I got it through ill will, right? But they but this is what they do. They take your property and then they make up some shit about it all. Going to jail and bringing unity. Sue, when you were in jail, you said the Puerto Ricans all stuck together, right? Smarty, yeah, the Puerto Ricans stick together inside. Sue, and they all came to you about food. Smarty, yeah, they'd come to me so I could make food, dinner and stuff. I became friends with the kitchen people so they'd hook me up with things to make different dishes. Even with ramen, I'd make soups and things everyone liked. Sue, where did you get the food from? Smarty, I had the hookup from the kitchen workers. Everybody loved me. I got along with everybody in jail. Sue, in other words, you wanted to round out what you were eating. Smarty, I had to outsource it, of course. All the different groups in jail had different things. For instance, the Chinese guy would have eggs and onions because they would work in the kitchen in certain areas. Most of the guys had other stuff like tuna fish, and they were also working in certain groups of the kitchen because the kitchen was so big. The way the jails worked, they had all the races in a certain area because it was kind of like a segregation type of thing. All of the different groups had different things that I would need to cook. I needed eggs to make fried rice and the tuna, beans and sauces. I would take the sauces to put the beans in it and then put it in a bowl. I used a foot bathtub, and here's how I'd cook. I'd take the foot bathtub, throw a plastic trash bag in it, and then we'd take a different bag and throw the beans and the meat inside it, tie it up, throw it in front throw it in the foot bathtub, floating on top of the water. We would put water in it, put it inside the bag, and then take one of the fan plugs, chop up the fan plug so that you got the wires exposed, and dip the wire into the water, and the water would heat up. That's how it cooks. Sue, did they give you knives so you could chop? Smarty, we had plastic knives and stuff. There were about 12 different groups. There were the white boys, Muslim groups, and Spanish groups. You got the Dominicans, the Puerto Ricans, the Mexicans, and the Ecuadorians, and they all got different stuff. They worked in different areas of the kitchen. I started cooking for one group, starting getting stuff from the other group, letting everyone taste all of the food I would make. All of a sudden, everybody was giving me stuff to make everybody. Sometimes I had to cook massive burritos and stuff like that because everyone wanted my food. Sometimes I had to turn people down because I didn't have enough room. It was real interesting because after that, everybody started talking to each other because they were like, yo, this shit is good. Where'd you get these eggs from? I would say, I got it from my man over there. Where'd you get this from? Oh, I got it from these guys. Sue, did they become more friendly then? Smarty, yeah. Everybody became more friendly because we were breaking bread. During my time there, I made peace with everybody and brought all the races together. Didn't matter where you came from or your background. Everybody came to love me because of that unity. I got everybody to mingle with each other. It was a beautiful thing. Of course, there were a lot who didn't want me to do well. I only had my mom, my brother, and a couple cousins sending me a couple of dollars here and there. I barely had people sending me money. I would hustle my ass off. I would do I would do what I do best and buy and sell shit, giving people something and get two in return. I'll give you 2 packs of honey buns, you give me 3 back and stuff like that. Since I don't smoke cigarettes, I started selling cigarettes. I was making money no matter what. But then it got to the point where I didn't even need nothing because everyone was throwing all their food at me, and I ate every night because I was the one cooking. And I love to cook, like I said. Sue, you ate healthier food too than what you've probably got in the kitchen. Smarty, every day there's something that you can bring back from the mess hall. We would literally plan meals. You get some vegetables, you get this. And they'd ask you to cook this weekend. Hell yeah, bring that. Sue, everybody in the jail knew that you were cooking, and they'd have to walk by your cell to give you the food. And everybody knew about it, and you didn't get into any trouble. Smarty, nope, not even the correction officers, CO, gave me trouble because I kept it real with them. They put me in a dorm, so it was 200 of us everywhere, and they had pockets, sections. It was literally a giant cubicle of 12 people in each cubicle with a total of 200 people. There was an instance where they raided and checked everything for contraband or whatever they want to call it, knives and weapons. They would come in and check everybody's stuff and then they would say, "Who's got stingers?" And the stingers are those cords that we use to boil the water inside of the foot bath, the foot of the bucket. The CEO went from person to person. The CEO said, "Who's got stingers?" Everybody was like, "I ain't got nothing." So they just lied to a CO. They come around to my section and it was all a black guy CO. He's like, "You got a stinger?" I said, "Yeah, I do. I'm cooking right now." He's like, "Oh, let me see." I move my towel to the side of that and he looks and he says, "All right," and walks away. Everybody else is like, "Yo, what the fuck?" And then he goes to the next guy and takes his shit. Takes everybody else's shit but mine because they all lied. But everybody saw what I did and how it went down. I told them the truth. "Yeah, I got one. This one right here. I'm cooking right now. You want some?" You don't want to get too friendly or too violent with them or whatever, but they were just doing their jobs. I was there doing my time. I didn't fault them for doing their jobs. And after that, everybody started sending me their stuff because they knew that the COs weren't fucking with me. Every time somebody wanted me to cook something and knew it wouldn't get taken, they'd give it to me. Because of that, I always had plenty of food. It was wild shit, but it was very, very real. Sue, you really didn't know about Daddy at that time, right? Smarty, no, I didn't know about Daddy when I was in jail. Sue, you said that everything you experienced from birth shaped you. Going to jail, those 2 years, you've called that humbling, and you've connected that to Daddy settling you down. Smarty, yeah, if that hadn't happened, I might have still been out there acting as a street pharmacist. I didn't want that life forever, but I was used to it. And I helped people. If somebody needed money, I'd give it to them. If they didn't pay me back, I'd hesitate next time and tell them, go sell these instead. Either way, I saw it as helping, either giving them money or giving them something they could sell to support their families. That's why people loved me in that life. We played the hand we were dealt with, and we learned from it. I kept asking back then, I call them God, asking to be taken out of that street life. It's not fun worrying who might set you up, rob you, or worse. Always looking over your shoulder. I didn't want that. And I had kids. I didn't want them anywhere near that world. They didn't know, not until the day of the raid. I never did anything in front of them, not even smoke. Nothing. Looking back, jail was part of shaping me. After that, I could walk into any hood on earth and talk to people on their level. That's a gift. I thank Daddy for pulling me out of that path. Currency, the notebook. Sue. And the money that was hidden too? Smarty. Yeah. While I was locked up, I had a bunch of money hidden inside a desktop computer tower. When I got out and my mom realized it had been there the whole time, she was like, oh my God, that money was here for 2 years? I could have gone to bingo. It was all stacked inside the computer case the whole time. Sue, but you had that composition book. Smarty. Yeah, that book. I had a lot of ideas in there. I drew and wrote things during that time. A lot of the medical stuff and the things I was figuring out, it all got started then. I still have it. It's actually in a picture of it's in the back of this book, by the way. The basement. Sue, when you got out, you basically lived with your brother, eventually moving houses to where you lived in the basement. Smarty, the basement was a transfer station. I had a portal in there, and I was going in and out of the portal while I was there, and nobody could see. Sue, when you say the portal there, your consciousness that was going in and out of this portal, or was it your whole body, or both? Both. Sue, you once mentioned that seeing a different version of yourself, almost like a preview of who you were becoming. Can you talk about that? Smarty. Yeah, I had a TV in the basement, only used when JJ came over to play PlayStation. I'd be on Dr. WC's Real Truth Call, pacing in front of the screen, and when I glance over, I'd see myself different. My hair braided, physique ripped, a future version of me. It started back then, and now I've been seeing it every day for the past couple of weeks, even today. I can literally feel the shift, like I'm catching glimpses. You know, when a video skips for a second, that's what I see, a flicker, and then that version of me. Sue, and you feel it physically. Smarty, yeah. Sometimes I'll just move a certain way and feel myself shifting. It's in the mind's eye, but it's real. We're days away from everything lining up from all of this happening. Smarty stands and turns in a circle. I just had some deja vu. Sue, you've also said Sophie is connected to this. Sue's note. Sophie is King Smarty's 2-year-old daughter, now 3. Smarty, she is. She's not just witnessing it, she's part of ushering it in. She perceives what others can't. Nobody told her anything, but she sees me as that version. She recognizes it. When she sees me. And other people around her notice it too. Others have seen it? Smarty, yeah. Ezra sees it. Ezra looked at a picture of the Sananda Galactic and said, that's Jesus, super Jesus. Nobody mentioned Jesus. Nobody put that idea in his head. He just saw it. Kids don't fake that kind of thing. They see what's really there. Sue's note, Ezra is King Smarty's 4-year-old son. Jesus stuff. Sue, growing up, did you feel a connection to Jesus or that story? Smarty, I always referenced him growing up. My family's Puerto Rican, and in Puerto Rican culture, we believe in Jesus, oops, and God. That's what we were taught. My grandma made a school at church. I read the books. I heard about him, and all through, oh my golly, all through childhood, I felt a connection with him, but I never prayed to him. I only prayed to God. I felt like I was helping and educating people and doing the same things he did, helping, healing. I realized there was a lot of people trying to do what he did too. I felt a strong connection, like I was like him, but I didn't know I actually was. Whenever I got into trouble, I'd say, "Okay, God, please help me out of this." And then something would happen that wasn't normal. Every time I asked for something, I would ask and then stay good, and I would receive it. That was the kicker. Even in the circumstances I was in, I stayed good. I didn't mess with anyone unless they messed with me. I was always helping people. I didn't get into fights unless someone started it and I had to. I'd ask Daddy, who I then knew as God, for things and he'd show me. I always knew things before they happened. I could see. I just didn't know what it was at first. That's how I managed to stay out of trouble for so long. For example, I'd see a car pass and then suddenly I'd be in the car, seeing everything inside like cigarettes, people's stuff, everything else, and then I'd be back. I didn't know what that was. My consciousness would go out and come back. It was remote viewing, even though I didn't know the term at the time. Another time, it was like I was meditating and then I was in the back seat of a car. I could only see the back of the driver's head and then I was back into my body. That happened a lot. That's how I stayed out of trouble in the streets for 20 plus years. I always knew what they were going to do, when they were going to do it, and I prepared for it. I knew their next move. Even the day before they came to my house, I had way more drugs. Daddy told me where to put them. I put them where he said, and the dogs didn't find them. I only gave them what I gave them because they were going to take the kids. And that day, all the kids happened to be there. What I'm saying is, I had these abilities and didn't know what they were until later, like remote viewing, astral travel, consciousness, talking with Daddy like we're talking right now. I always had that. I just didn't know when I first recognized it was Daddy's voice. The dark ones tried to interfere, and I had that voice to skull type stuff many times, saying stuff like, "Do this. What if we do that? How about this?" And I'd think, where did that come from? I knew it wasn't me. Now, when they try, it's like, yeah, no, dude. I know who's who. That's not me. Sue, going back to the Jesus piece, you've mentioned divine roles before. Are you saying your mother was Mother Mary? Because in the biblical story, she was very young when she gave birth. Smarty, Dr. W.C. was Mother Mary. My mom was young, like the Bible says, but Dr. W.C. was Mother Mary. The consciousness was different. On the real truth call, she'd tell me to watch my mouth, and I'd say, "Yes, ma'am. Dr. W.C., she's a visionary, but it's up to Daddy whether she comes back or not." Sue's note, Dr. W.C. is the founder of the Real Truth Calls, and you can get those on the Bubble Up app right now. And because of Daddy and all the private conversations we have, I don't worry the way others do. It hurts sometimes, but I don't experience death like everyone else. I've lost my father, my mother, family members. I tried to heal over and over and over. It is what it is. I know because Daddy tells me and shows me. Not just talking, he shows me. Because of everything he shows me, I know anything is possible. If he says he can reanimate anybody at any time, anywhere, then okay, you you're the creator, and I'm here to do what you want me to do. And because of everything I've experienced and everything he tells me, we already won. Sue, and like you said, who can take care of anyone better than Daddy, right? Smarty, that's true. That's why I don't worry about anything. If the cabal would do something to harm one of us, I accepted the fact that that's what we had to deal with, or accept to get this all done. I was always someone that fought for humanity, wanted to see good, and wanted these things to change. You know, I stumbled upon it all. I always knew there was a fucking battle going on. I was on the good side from the beginning because of me learning early on that there was a God. Sue, you've talked about dark forces before. What did you realize about them in your earlier years? Smarty, I realize that there are devils like Satan and Lucifer, but they couldn't all be one person. It had to be a bunch of entities. I always knew I was going to be a problem for them. When I got this tattoo, pointing to his tattoos, it was because I knew I'd be a thorn in the side of the of the government. Wow, is that coming true? These are literal thorns, and that's what was before I know what I know now. And after everything, all the ridicule, my family turning against me, I don't just believe, I know. Everybody turned their backs on me, left me to the dirt. That made me strong because I didn't need anyone. I got Daddy. Sue. And now some of those same people are coming back. Smarty, yeah, now it's full circle. People want to be in my life again. One of my aunts reached out. She said she wasn't contacting me for herself, but for my brother, saying I'm the oldest and I should go help him. My brother has my number. He can call me. Some of my brothers do when they need something. She saw pictures of the kids and posted that she'd love to meet them. That's up to Daddy. I'm not here for a normal life. I'm never going to have the one family white picket fence bullshit. I'm going to have a kingdom. That's what I'm building. That's what Daddy's building. And we're walking into it. People can believe it or not. Daddy always validates. Always. And the faster people do what Daddy wants, the faster they'll get their wishes granted. Last time I checked, I grant wishes. That's what I do. Sue, and that ties into consciousness increases. Smarty, exactly. Consciousness increases matter for multiple reasons. One is instant manifestation. When we do healing, it happens instantly. But when it comes to helping someone with rent or a car, it takes time as there's steps involved. Part of healing is that if people don't believe, they block their own blessings. It's not that the healing doesn't work, they block it with their thoughts. Their thoughts keep the sickness or whatever the doctors created in place. Sue, so letting go is important. Smarty, yeah. Best thing to do is what B always says, let go and let Daddy. Or what Daddy says, let go and let me. I've tried to heal everyone I know. I can't say I lost anyone because Daddy says I never lose, so I never lose. It just means they had to experience what they had to experience. People don't listen because Daddy made them that way. That's the truth. He made them do what they're doing. If they die, he made them to experience that moment. That's their time. Sometimes you want to say, let me just kill them, Daddy. But he stops you because he gives people chances to turn to him and the light. He created all of us. It's their choice to go dark. They chose that path. He knows who won't listen and he knows they'll expire. Even the ones who eventually expire because of how long it took. And today he told us there's no more saving them. It's over. Nobody can be saved right now. It's over for them. Sue, that's huge. Smarty, that's huge, yeah. And a couple of hours ago, we made a breakthrough. He didn't say what it was. We got a lot of things done that will guarantee the money being spread all over. Shelton did say that some groups that got paid, that other people said groups are being paid. We're on the schedule to be paid first, so I haven't heard nothing. At the end of the day, no one got more money than me. Only Daddy does. I just have to sit here and keep playing my role. Where does the money come from? Him. Who's the richest? Him. He's abundant. In his dream, B was sleeping or laying on a pile of money, and people were trying to come and take it from him. He was trying to keep these people from taking it or stealing it, and he, Daddy, showed up and said, "Let go. Let them take the money, because who's got more than me? No one. Because when they take it, it also comes with Daddy's punishment. It comes with Daddy's punishment, and then we get more." Sue, which is why you said the other day there'll be a certain punishment for the leaders that are at the top, the politicians and the billionaires, with all of this money that are so super greedy. Smarty, what's the biggest blow to them? Losing everything, living a life of impoverishment because of their deeds and their actions and what they did. They had it all: wealth, power, everything. And they'll lose it all, everything, to live a life of poverty. It's easier for the guys on the lower rungs to go up than the guys on the top to come down. You know what I mean? Sue, it's going to be interesting. Smarty, the time to turn to the light is over. Sue, they've had multiple chances. I've been thinking for years, how many more chances do they get? Here I feel bad about all the stupid things I've done, and these guys are killing and harming, and they get years worth of chances. Smarty, yeah, they're super bad ones. A lot of them don't believe in the whole soul thing and the whole Pebble Valley thing. It's because of what they were taught. You're talking about entities all across the universe realizing that it's over. And not just here, not just in this district, so universe wide. It's over. That's a big deal. It's a very big deal. Sue, universe wide. Wow. You've talked about people seeing miracles and a shift in understanding. What do you mean by that? Smarty, people are going to see miracles and wonders. They're going to stop saying Jesus is coming and start saying Jesus is here, because they'll witness things the biblical text described. It's tied to the rise of consciousness. People start sensing, feeling more, and Daddy starts talking to them more. We reinforce people so they can handle and accept the truth. That's why I say it's not going to take 100 years. I've been working my ass off so it doesn't take a century for people to realize that it's more than just some guy named Jesus doing miracles and trying to get everyone to follow God. It's beyond biblical. It's off-planet shit. It's the universe. Consciousness has been rising. There are so many armadas of angels playing a role in awakening people. They're visiting and popping up, and people aren't reporting it because they just don't know what it is. For example, over here in Burnt Pines, a beautiful neighborhood in the Miramar Beach, Florida area, they see them all the time, but they don't say anything because they have to leave that area or they die. It's too late in the game for anyone to try something now, because the more they come at me, the more they're going to see what I'm really about. Destin's energy levels are so high that people who aren't meant to be here, who can't withstand being around it, they move away because it's too much for them to handle. Sue, is this happening everywhere? Smarty, it's trickling everywhere, but more so here. That's why the neighbor acted the way she did until she was gone. It was too much for them. They were trying to get me to go. Sue, what happened with the neighbor? I know they sent drones overhead to spy on you and continuously called the city, but Smarty, it sounded like the guy was already having issues and that sealed the deal. Gone. They moved out. Sue, that's awesome. Smarty, makes sense. I never see her outside anymore, even trying to snoop to see what people are doing. And today the property manager told me she's got the information on the drone guy and all of that. If they act up again, she'll press charges. I'm trying to handle things in a way where they leave me alone. People judge based on appearance or whatever, but they didn't realize I'm not harming anyone. Unless they're dark. If they mean well, they're fine. They've really tried to discourage what I'm doing here, and it's been very inconvenient. I've had to move my inventory several times and pretty much start over. Sue, you're doing the most incredible things for the universe, but sometimes it's frustrating because you never catch a break. There's no downtime. You're working 24/7. Like we talked about at the beach, you never just really relax. The last time you went to the beach before today was the bonfire day, and even that was only a few hours. Smarty, just relaxing like today. I like the area because I can get in the water and hang out, but I'm still working too. Sue, you're never really tuned out. Even when you're relaxing, you're still working. You don't really get vacation time where you're not thinking about work. And you're not going to have that until the kids are older, when you can just be a dad on the beach. Smarty, not even then, because I'll still have to do something somewhere else. In Puerto Rico, I was stressed out because I wanted to come back home. I was over there to work to do an event, and then I had to worry about getting a flight back. But Daddy always puts people in positions so that when I reached out for help, it was there. I'm always grateful for that. Sue, and you're looking forward to not worrying about how much you spend. Smarty, yeah, aren't we all, right? And that's where what we're walking into. It's fantastic. It's fun. Sue, plus all the traveling you're going to continue to do. Smarty, forever kind of. Daddy already warned me about things like the kids missing me and stuff, but there's a bigger purpose. They'll be all right. When they're older, they'll find their purpose. They'll realize they can do the things Daddy can do. If they need to teleport someone, they can teleport right next to me. Sophie does it all the time when she's mad. That's why in her and B always fight. Every time we go somewhere, she wants to be nosy, and B is like, go home. She tries to take advantage of him. Sue, why do you bully Uncle B? Said to Sophie. Smarty, because he sends your butt back home, said to Sophie. Yeah, there's a lot we can cover. Some stuff I don't even talk about on the show because it's never brought up. There are questions. Sue, one of the first events you did at my expo, you told everyone who you were, right? Smarty, yeah. At one of the first expos I did with you, I told everyone who I was. Some people were like, no way. I was there. It was funny. A few got up and ran out. One crying, one angry, one just fleeing. But most people stayed and wanted to hear more. They were asking questions like, what do you eat? Do you have to eat something special to have all these abilities and powers? And what did you tell them? Smarty, I eat whatever the fuck I want. I like Puerto Rican food. People say if you eat a certain way long enough, your consciousness opens. But my consciousness was always already where everybody needs to be. Nothing affects me, same with the kids. They're where they need to be. If someone wants to raise consciousness and they're not of this type of DNA, then yeah, they need to do certain things. Sophie has never consumed animal products, never been shot up. That's part of it. There are easy ways to raise your vibration. Apples do it almost instantly. Sophie loves apples. It has to be raw. Sue, you've mentioned studying energy and vibration. Smarty, yeah, I studied everything, researched everything. There was one guy testing his football players. He used Carolean photography like the aura photos Joel has. He had them play football and then gave some a hamburger. He took their photo and their energy dropped.
Then he'd take another one. Oh, wow. Okay. Then he'd give another one an apple after playing, and you could instantly see the energy from the apple going into his body and raising the vibration. Same with salad. Anything alive, especially apples and cucumbers, have a high vibration. Electrolytes in apples and cucumbers raise vibration quick. That's why juicing is so good. You get enzymes and energy. Dr. Robert Young, the alkaline water guy, he did videos showing a light bulb turning on when he put positive and negative wires into a cucumber. They locked him up. I don't know if he's free now, but we're going to make sure he is. Sue, and you used that with JJ when he had Tourette's. Smarty, yeah. JJ got Tourette's after playing a video game for a couple of days. His mom forced him to go off the TV to go to bed, and the next morning he woke up with it. The flashing lights and his low immune system triggered it. I was taking him to school, and he says, I don't know what's wrong with me. His mom, being a nurse, wanted to take him to the doctors and medicate him. I looked it up immediately and saw that he had what's called a tic. I brought a book, got it on YouTube, and looked up frequencies for it. I don't like reading, but I read the book because it was my son. The easiest way to correct Tourette's is to strengthen the immune system. How? Juicing vegetables. I bought the juicer, found frequency tones, and every night while he slept, I put headphones on him with the frequencies. When he woke up, I gave him fresh juice. After about 2 weeks, it went away. Because we used frequencies, and that was that. Gone. And that's because of my research. That's what I do.